Hey everybody, it's Mike Capera with podcastcondition.com, bringing our 78th episode of What You Drinking, and pretty much as always, there's Dan, you're with me. How's it going over there?
Real nice. How's it going with you?
Excellent. It's getting cold outside, man. I work from home today, and it's getting cold. It's getting chilly. It's winter. It's definitely right around the corner, and you can't believe we're in mid-November already. This is crazy. This like second half of the year has just flown by for me. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, and I mean, yeah, it turned in a hurry as far as the weather is concerned. I actually walked over from my house to Perkin, which I've talked about in other episodes, and it's probably a mile and a half away from here. Man, it was a cold walk. That wind was right in my face on the way there. It wasn't so bad on the way back because the wind was to your back, but on the way there, it's like, oh, I need this. And I went over there because they had Bourbon County Stout 2013 on tap. It was a good way to get out of the cold.
Yeah, were there a lot of people there?
It was surprisingly not as jam-packed as the week before Darkness had been served, and I totally missed that because they put it on tap at 2. It was gone in 3 hours. So just that quick. Yeah, during the day on a Wednesday.
I know, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
At all.
So all I can say is that I hope that Surly is at FOBAB this weekend and that they have Darkness.
Well, sorry for the silence. That was a bad pour, and I had to do a little foam sucking there. So, did you hear about the Goose Island FOBAB beer list that they released?
I did.
So they're not only going to have some good Bourbon County stouts, but they're going to bring some others like the sours and stuff too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can pull up the list. Hold on, let me get back to that.
Yeah, I've got it tabbed already here, so just give me a second.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. And there's her. Okay. Yeah, I was in contact because I wanted to put out a BCS sort of survival guide post this week, which is it's just about ready. But part of that was I wanted to see if I could preview the FOBAB beers that they're pouring, and sure enough, a very nice woman over there named Samantha Catalina sent over a list of the beers, and it sounds like there are 13 of them. They're pouring Halia, which is one of their sours. Basically, this is the sister series. Jillian, Juliet, Lolita, Madame Rose, and then it's everything after that. First four is, or five rather, is Bourbon County Stout. They have the regular, the coffee, barley wine, the vanilla rye, the proprietors from this year, and then they have three kind of curious ones. They have last year's barley wine, last year's regular but aged in, it looks like in the Temple rye barrels instead of the standard barrels. Mm-hmm. And then the last one is the Bourbon County barley wine. It looks like from this year, but they're going to run it through a coffee Randall, which is, it sounds like it's an infusion device that is often used in French press coffees. So they're basically running it sounds like they're running the barley wine through coffee beans and infusing those flavors into the barley wine before they pour it. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know if I want to do that or not, but
yeah, that sounds interesting. And the Randall is something that most craft beer nerds would kind of recognize. It's mostly, I think, the brewery that really bring attention to it, because they sell it on their website even, is Dogfish Head. And I've had I think at Extreme Beer Fest they were running one of the beers. It might have been like 120 IPA through the Randall. Mike, you were there actually, weren't you?
I was there. I was just gonna say that was in Boston.
Yeah.
2012, 13.
Yeah, it was like a year or two ago. Is that what it was? The 120 through the Randall?
Yes, I believe it was. And yeah, it was a lot of hops. A lot of hops.
That was a good time. Sorry, I didn't see that you were there. If you were there for a while I was talking about that, because I was actually staring at another screen. Because Dan, did you mention also that they were doing there's like a Wild Turkey Bourbon County Stout project, so it's called Bourbon County Brand Stout Nitro, but it looks like it's run through for a wild, like in a Wild Turkey barrel or something like that.
No, I hadn't seen that. That wasn't at least on the list. So is that something that they added, or is
Well,
that
they tweeted out today their FOBAB lineup. See if I can chat you guys the link to it. But yeah, I saw that on the Full Pint today that they had announced that. So let me get that out to you guys.
Okay.
So that's cool. So how you doing, Mike?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Glad I made it on. I feel like I haven't been on in a long time, but I guess it's only been 2 weeks. But I've missed you guys. I've missed you guys.
Yeah, we had a fun show last week with the pop culture reference beers. It was a good time.
I'm actually drinking, so I didn't have a chance to go out and look for an IPA with Cascade. So because I missed last week, I'm drinking the beer that I would have had last week.
Oh, cool.
So it's a pop culture beer.
Let's see it. What you got?
It is it's from Relic Brewing in Connecticut, Plainville, Connecticut. It's the Queen Anne's Revenge Porter.
Oh, nice.
And it's got a nice picture of Blackbeard on there. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
But Queen Anne's Revenge was the name of Blackbeard's ship when he was patrolling the Caribbean and the Atlantic, robbing everyone in sight. So Relic Brewing is in Plainville, Connecticut, which is actually right next to where I grew up. And I've never been to the brewery, but one of my friends is a big fan, and he used to live in Plainville, and now he lives in Watertown, Connecticut, which is also close by. But he did a little beer exchange with him a while back, and he gave me a couple things from Relic, and this one I've been sitting on for a while, and I thought this was a good occasion to bring it out. It advertises itself as a robust porter, and it says that it has extra hoppy characteristics that are unusual in the porter type, and I would agree. It's a very good porter. I do taste a little more hops than I think you would normally get in a porter. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say that it's a robust porter, but it is a good one. I'm definitely enjoying it, and it does not advertise the alcohol by volume. It's kind of a mystery. Once I get through this first glass, I'll let you know how I'm feeling, and I'll give you a guess as to what it is. And then maybe at that point, I'll also do some Googling and try to figure it out, see how close I was to guessing.
Yeah, what's the brewery again?
Relic. RELIC. Relic Brewing.
Nice.
Now, how close is that flirting with a Cascadian black ale or a black IPA or whatever you want to call that style now?
Yeah, so actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because when I had the first sip, I was kind of like, this doesn't seem that far off from a black IPA. But unlike the beers that are sort of advertising themselves as black IPAs, I mean, this tastes more like a porter than an IPA. I mean, the hops are there, but they're not so strong, so prevalent as it would be in a black IPA, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, look, everywhere I look says it's about 7.75.
Oh, you should have let him guess first.
You ruined it for me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I really didn't think you were trying to do that.
Why not?
All right, I'm sorry. I'll never do that again.
No, that's all right.
I was just actually curious also to see how everybody else received this beer, and it's got about only 22 ratings in there, but the average is up there in 90. So
I don't think it's one of their usual beers. I think this was a special release that they did. But that was only in my limited information gathering so far. But it wasn't listed on their website, at least last week. It wasn't listed on there as one of their regular beers. So it's good. It's good. I'm enjoying it.
nice. Have you had any other offerings in your area, or is it kind of like a one-off? You said somebody sent that to you, though, right?
Yeah. A friend of mine from Connecticut. We did a little beer exchange a few months ago, and this was one of the ones that he gave me. I have not seen anything from this brewery here from it, so I think it's small. I think it's small. I don't think they do a whole lot. But I know that he's very familiar with these beers, and he raves about them. So I know that you can definitely get them all over Connecticut.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. So how about you, Dan? What'd you end up grabbing for the show tonight?
Well, I actually went with a brewery that's probably better known for their lagers than anything else. But this is Church Street Brewing. They're in, I think, Itasca, Illinois. And this is their Brimstone India Pale Ale. This is kind of funny because it's getting beat. I wouldn't say it's getting beat up, but it's getting sort of lukewarm reviews, both at Rate Beer and at Beer Advocate, and it tastes fine to me. I don't see what the problem with this is. It's it's got some nice backbone to it. It's got the nice bitter exit to the beer, and there are nice aroma hops in the middle to kind of keep the flavor going. So it's tastes fine to me. It's probably not the world's best, and it's not going to light the world on fire, but it's a solid IPA.
Nice. Yeah, I was just reading about them actually. I think because they're strictly distributed to like Chicago and like Rockford area, so they're expanding to the western suburbs. It looks like they just announced like last week. It looks like.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, so that's cool. I don't think I've had anything from them, to be honest with you. So.
I've had a couple of things because they were in festivals starting actually 2 years ago. They kind of started launching, I think back in 2013 at the fests, and so that's when I had kind of had their maltier and more lagery beers. But they didn't really, and that was one thing that I noticed about them is like, wow, they don't have anything hoppy. What's going on with that? And so this was, I think, their attempt to kind of get into that, and it's fine. I mean, it's a good, solid idea.
Nice. Well, my beer kind of ties in with one of the stories that I was going to bring up because there's a lot of there's a lot of acquisitions going on this week in the world of beer news, and one of which is kind of ticked off a lot of people in the Pacific Northwest. Anheuser-Busch has acquired a brewery out there that's not that old, and it's I guess they haven't disclosed what the amount was until they finalize, which they say they're going to have to do by the end of the year or something like that. But 10 Barrel Brewing out of Oregon, I think. I've never heard of them before until I might have heard mention of the name, but I don't know any of their beers. But they were just acquired by it was Anheuser-Busch, wasn't it? Yeah, maybe.
AB InBev.
Yep. So yeah, it's an Oregon brewer, and there was a story that I read, announcing the actual story. It was like an article, I should say, announcing the story. But then I saw an article from a blogger maybe he's not a blogger. It looks like it's this looks like a column out of some sort of online paper in Seattle, and it's just titled "The Short Life and Ugly Death of 10 Barrel Brewing," and I mean,
wow.
within the article, yeah, I mean, I don't want to promote the article because I don't agree with most of what it says in it, but it's a funny read if you're interested, and the guy totally goes into how John Hall from Goose Island, when he sold out in 2011, I think it was, that it was like, giving up to the devil, basically. It was, just catering, giving into the machine that's trying to eat up and gobble all the small breweries, where, first of all, that's not, I mean, I don't see that happening. But first of all, with Goose Island, which is why I'm bringing this story up before I even jump in here. This is a new beer that has never come out until this year, as far as I know. Do you do you remember if that's correct, Dan, or have you seen this one before this year?
No, I think that's a new one for this year for sure.
Yeah, so this appears to be like a seasonal release, and it's a red ale, but it's herbal, woody, and citrus aromas from Mount Hood and Amarillo hops. So I grabbed this one for the show tonight for two reasons. One, we had a beer tasting over the weekend, and I have a fridge full of beer, so I have no justification to go to the store and sink a lot of particular beer this evening.
Good problem to have.
Yeah,
I can vouch for that too.
Most of that it was still there. So the other thing that I found was online. Goose Island's got like a YouTube channel, and I noticed that they had a video for this particular beer, and they mentioned Cascade hops within the video. So I don't know if that was a mistake and they didn't mean to mention that hop, or if it's just not being mentioned on the bottle here. But it's 65 IBUs, 6.7 ABV. It is very red, copper color.
Yeah.
And it's got a little bit more of the bitter, instead of like the citrusy hops. I mean, you do get a little citrus in there too in the flavor, but in the smell of it, man, it's like more of the bittering hops in the English style that you're more used to, as opposed to kind of what's being put out more often, if not these days in the IPAs. Everyone's looking for that citrus flavor instead of the bitterness, and I think this one kind of brings it back to that a little bit. It's good. I really like it. It's this came in a 12-pack for like $13, so I mean at almost $1 a beer, it's a pretty good deal. Because I usually have that or the Goose Island English style IPA on hand at all times, because they're both reasonably priced and they're still pretty solid beers coming from Goose Island, who, like I said earlier, they're coming out with all kinds of new beers now that they weren't doing and they weren't able to do now, and obviously we're going to see a lot more Bourbon County Stout this year, and hopefully a lot more people will be able to get their hands on it, as opposed to years in the past where it's just, if you're not standing in line at 7 a.m. Or earlier, you're just out of luck unless you've got some friends in good places. You know what I mean? Last year, Mike, did you guys get any of? Did you see an increase in Bourbon County Stout, or did you even get it on the East Coast at all last year?
No, I haven't seen it here.
Mm.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Yeah, because I for some reason I thought last year's release was nationwide, so that's crazy.
I mean, it could have been. I didn't see it, but I also wasn't. I wasn't looking for it either, so it may have been out there. But yeah, I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah, I remember it being expanded market, and forget if expanded meant nationwide or not. But I do know that there were definitely limited market. Like I remember news stories primarily coming from San Francisco and Denver at the time. So it may have been a more regional expanded launch, like they were moving out of Chicago finally, but they weren't going completely across the nation. But
I do remember Seattle, or yeah, I do remember San Francisco. I think you're correct on that. So
I don't see a lot of Goose Island. I mean, the Goose Island that I see here is going to be like their, what is it, the 312? It's their IPA. It's like their standard like beers that come in 6-packs. Nothing too crazy. And then they've got the Sophie, Matilda, in the big bottles. But other than that, you don't see the other stuff around here too often.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind the next time we're doing an exchange. Which reminds me, have you checked the tracking on the box that I sent you yet?
I haven't. No, actually, I haven't checked. It wasn't here today, but I think you had said that probably Thursday. So.
Yeah, it said 3 business days, so I assume that hopefully by tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I'm keeping my eye out for it.
I'm jealous about some of the beers that are in there, to be honest with you. I was like, oh man, I forgot about that one, because the box is there forever, and I apologize for the to to get back to you on that. Apologize for being so late.
Oh, no problem at all. It'll get here eventually.
But yeah, it's always fun when those things come up, especially if you're not checking the tracking and all of a sudden there's a box of beer at your house.
Yeah.
Fun. That's kind of what happened with your last box that you sent me. I was like, oh man, I forgot this was here, or that it was on its way. So I was excited.
Is there anything left in that box, or are they all? Have you gone through them all?
So we opened up the last one of the box was the Trillium, which, man, everybody loved that beer. It was really, really good. I would love to get more of that someday. It's really, really amazing. Man, do they even do a bad beer? I just honestly, they're just top notch. Everything that they put out.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely ones that I've liked more than others, but each one, there's nothing to complain about in terms of, the beer itself. It's just my own taste, whether I like one more than the other. And I may have mentioned it before. I don't know if, I'm sure that they're great beers, but I think part of it too might also be that they're such a small brewery, so that everything you get is fresh. Like, it's just not hanging around too long, so that it's brewed, it's bottled, and then you're drinking it within like a month. So I think that's also part of it too, is thus that their beer they're so small, and so the beer that you get is just so fresh that I think it only helps. But that said, one of the writers for the Boston Globe does a beer. I think he has a blog, and he's also got an article that he writes for the paper every other week or so, and did an article on them. And the first line was something like, I've never had a bad beer from this place. Every single one has been exceptional. So we're not alone in saying that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, but it's special though when it comes to even a smaller place like that. You've got to have some really outstanding beers for people to flock as much as they seem to them, because I mean, there's how many breweries, in the Boston area right now.
Yeah.
I would say the same about Chicago. There's some that people just go to all the time, and then there's others that are like, oh, I didn't even realize that was a Chicago brewery, or I didn't know they had a tap room, or didn't know they were open yet, or there's some that I've never even heard of until like they've been open for excuse me, like a month or two. Like, have you been to or heard of Vice Brewing on the I think they're in Printers Row now, Dan, in Chicago. There's a brewery that just opened up maybe like 2 months ago.
The name I remember because I think it was floating around sort of in the beer news for a while, but it was one of those things. It's going to be opening eventually, and it hadn't yet. But yeah, no, I mean there are a couple like that, and actually some of them kind of materialize out of nowhere. Like there's one that's contract brewed out of Minhas up in Wisconsin called what is it? It's Hypothesis is the name of the brewery, and I guess that they're a Chicago.
They're contract brewed?
Yeah, they're a Chicago brewery, but they're contract brewed out of Minhas in Monroe, Wisconsin. And it was funny because I bought this one beer and I was kind of like, I'm kind of curious because I just bought this on a whim because it was one of those make your own six. So those are kind of the opportunities that I take to kind of just get beers that I haven't tried before without doing too much research. And so I brought it home and looked it up, and I was like, this just kind of came out of nowhere. There was a Chicago blog post from like Chicago Beer Geeks or something along those lines saying this was a beer that literally wasn't there the day before, and then the next day they were tweeting about how it was being served at a local bar. It's like, what happened?
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, the Minhas, God, that place, I'm sure they are good brewers, but I've never had a beer that just made me go, yay, from that place.
Mm.
So, anyway.
Well, I had one last night from Against the Grain Brewing out of Louisville. Have you guys had anything from that?
No.
No, I've heard the name because they've been up here for a little while now, but I've heard good things, but I have yet to have any. How is that?
I mean, the one I had, I was super impressed by. It was called the Tall Tale, and it was a sour. Let me let me pull up the information about it. It's an 8.5. Actually, I think I have the bottle still. So let me grab that and the full one actually, because there's two. And I don't know if they're known for their sours or not, but I think I'm gonna try to have to get more of their stuff because I don't even know where my friend Cindy got those, because when she came over on Saturday for the beer tasting, I had never seen those before, and I was very impressed by the one. It was a sour made with coffee, actually. Which,
wow.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me grab it really quick. I'll read it.
No, that rings a bell that they have sours as sort of their forte. Now there are a couple of southern breweries that are really kind of pushing the sours angle. I forget what the other one though. It's like because there are a lot with funk in the name, and I know that probably goes across all breweries. But I want to say there are a couple of southern breweries that have a biggie in the mix that's got funk in the name. What's that one?
This is the Tall Tale. It's a malt beverage brewed with coffee and cocoa nibs, aged in wooden barrels, and finished with Brettanomyces.
Right.
It has a picture with a lumberjack with a big beard with an axe in one hand up here, and then he looks like he's kind of doing a little disco dancing. He's got tattoos all over his body, and he's got really short shorts on, suspenders, and there's another guy next to him in a bull costume with a bell. Maybe he's a cow because it says more cowbell on it. Anyways, a very interesting label.
That's great.
I really don't know how else to explain it except how I just said it, because this is
like the
very
Speedo.
interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But this was I don't know. This is a really, really good beer. I forget what the ABV, 8.5. Yeah, it was a good mix of the coffee and the Brettanomyces. You know, it's like a weird combination of a sour beer with like some bitter coffee flavor in it. But this other one that Cindy left was a sage smoked saison called Little Did We Know, and it's also got another interesting label on it as well.
It's an interesting beer, sage smoked saison.
Yeah. So, and this was actually a collaborative between Against the Grain and Stillwater Artisanal Beers.
Stillwater might be the one that I'm thinking of as far as the other brewery that's putting up the funky beers, because that sounds familiar.
You might be thinking of Prairie, out of is it Missouri or St. Louis? Yeah.
No, it's the wrong direction. It's further east.
Okay. Because Prairie, I know everyone's talking about them and all of their sours and stuff that they've been putting out lately.
Right.
Which are pretty good. I think they're putting out their Abraxas, which is I think one of their major releases. So it's on invitation from the Craft Beer Temple here in Chicago.
Nice.
For the Abraxas release. So yeah, but yeah, there was a ton of other stuff going on too. Not only was the 10-barrel acquisition thing going on, but there was also Green Flash acquired the Alpine Beer Company
in Colorado. That's right.
Oh.
Yeah,
which is
I was thinking Stone for some reason, but you're right. It's Green Flash.
Yeah, and I've been to Green Flash, and it's really, really cool place, but I just don't understand. So I guess that they announced that their breweries are going to join forces, teaming up to share resources, knowledge, and experience. Both the Milkinis and the Hinkleys. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I don't know who belongs to who. Let's see. Green Flash is Mike and Lisa Hinckley, and Alpine Beer Company are the founders, Pat and Val McIlhenny. I know I'm mispronouncing that probably, but they're both they view the affiliation as mutually beneficial and are committed to supporting each other for the success of both breweries. So each company is going to remain independent, and they're going to operate independently and maintain its distinct brand and culture. Pat will remain Alpine's president and brewmaster to oversee all operations of the Alpine Beer Company, while also ensuring Alpine beers continue to meet his unwavering standards of quality. So that's interesting. A new way of doing it that I've never seen before between two breweries. Have you guys ever seen anything like that?
No, but I guess not surprising. I mean, the more and more breweries you have, the more and more collaborations, mergers, acquisitions, the more of that's going to happen, I think.
Well, and not only that, but as far as business models go, responsible growth is probably going to more and more have to hinge on creative business arrangements like that, rather than the big guys like Stone going out to Virginia, or Chicago and oh my God, Lagunitas. Because they were talking about the bill as far as Stone's brewing operations out in Virginia went, and it was just ridiculous. And I remember this specifically because Craft Beer Nation a few weeks back, where I was talking to the president of Six Point, and they were bringing up to the president of Six Point, well, what do you think about this new brewing operation that Stone's putting out there? And then he was like, you know what? It's crazy. That's unsustainable. I mean, the sheer number of dollars they're putting into making a completely new building, and not just a building, but like a sort of a landmark building, is just ridiculous. It makes much more sense to either buy something that's already standing and retrofit, or to do what's going on with this arrangement that you're talking about with Green Flash and Alpine, in terms of having a collaborative arrangement where it sounds like what they're probably going to do is essentially share distribution networks, and maybe, and I don't know if this is true or not, but maybe they'll essentially contract brew each other's beer so that they don't have to ship it across the country. And that's smart. I mean, that's brilliant.
Well, they're both California breweries, so I don't know if they may have different distributors. I don't know. I don't know.
No, I think Alpine's Colorado.
Yeah, I think it's Colorado now.
Alpine, California, I thought. I have to pull that story up, but I think I just read that it was not. I'll just look up Alpine.
All right. Because I was reading that story too. I remember that. And I was thinking, that's smart.
There are no results. What? I'm almost positive that they're both California. So I'll pull this back up again. There's a ton of stuff going on though. It's kind of crazy. I was going through a lot of the news stories as of late, and I was like, man, there's just a ton going on lately. But also one thing that I've seen a lot, and I don't want to get off topic because I know I'm just going to pull up the story that I'm looking for as soon as I start getting into this. But something I've seen a lot of the breweries doing now, and I don't know if I've seen this as much. Some of the ones that I kind of stay in touch with a little more closely than others, but now's about the time where you're starting to see a lot of breweries announcing their 2015 lineup, which is kind of cool to see. And I don't know if that's something that you guys have ever noticed before. Is that have you seen any yet that come to mind or anything like that? No,
not offhand.
Firestone Walker that's one of them. Shorts just did like a podcast completely dedicated to their new lineup, and they're actually doing a cool thing where like they're allowing their fans to vote. So they've got their lineup set, and they've announced it, but they're giving their fans a deadline to vote and bring some of them back on if some of the beers that they really love are not on. Because some of them they're not going to do. I don't think they're doing key lime pie this year. There was a whole bunch of them, but they're allowing people to vote on it. So I think that's kind of a cool thing.
That is neat.
That's kind of cool. Wait, Kevin's here.
Hey, Kevin. What's going on? I didn't think we'd see you today.
Yeah, no, I made it. I made it. The kids went to bed early and quickly.
Nice.
Yay!
It's always good.
Were you able to wrangle up a beer with Cascade hops in it at all?
I couldn't find anything with Cascade hops. I looked and asked. Nothing had it. No.
You could find a stout with Cascade hops in it.
Yeah, I think that's what I might be drinking here.
I know, you probably do have Cascade in that. And you don't even
Cascade
know.
Dark Ale, that's right.
I actually got an interesting one. So a couple weeks ago, I was at Whole Foods and they had a display of the two brothers Heavy Handed.
Oh,
Now there you go.
That's their seasonal wet hopped IPA. But what they've done this year is, so the display had 6-packs, and every 6-pack, they all looked the same, but if you looked real closely on the bottle, every 6-pack was either made with Cascade or Chinook or Centennial, specifically. You know, and it'll say on the back, like, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it says, this one says
Cascade 2014. Yeah.
And so I'm standing there in front of the display, thinking to myself, "Oh my God, I would love to get all of them and compare them." And I was thinking, I don't want to get 3 6-packs of this because, first of all, this is good, but it's not one of my favorite IPAs. I love Two Brothers and I love the style. It just doesn't happen to be one of my favorites. And so I stood there and I was like, "But that would be so cool." And then I realized, wait a minute, what's to stop me from switching up the bottles? I'll get 1 6-pack with 2 of each.
There you go.
I mean, they all look at you. You saw that's the difference. Is that little tiny?
yeah.
I was like,
Right.
well, that's what I'll do, and so I did. I got a 6-pack with 2 of each: 2 Chinook, 2 Cascade, and 2 Centennial.
That's great.
And
Nice.
this is actually the last one. I saved it. I saved it because I had the other 2 over the weekend or on Monday, and I made sure to save the Cascade for tonight.
Nice. Yeah, I had the Chinook. How's the Cascade?
It's good. I'll be honest. I thought by getting them in the same 3 beers and having them, like, I didn't get them all, open them all at once and taste test them, but I had one after the other on 2 different occasions where I try one and then I try another.
Right.
I can't honestly say I noticed much of a difference, which was a little disappointing, but sort of telling in itself. Just that, we talk about this stuff and I like this and it's, maybe I can't tell. Maybe it's all about the how they do it more than the ingredients in some respects. So I don't know. I mean I could taste a little bit of difference, but it's super subtle. Because otherwise it's the same beer.
Okay. Interesting. No, the Chinook I thought was pretty good, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I
think
don't have the
I had it was last night. Actually, last night I had the Centennial, and I liked it a lot. But I'd be hard pressed to say, oh, I can tell the difference between this one and that one. Like, there's a subtle difference, but I can't pinpoint it or put any words to it, other than it was slightly different, and something I may or may not even perceive if I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. That's cool.
But it's still good. I recommend if you see that, I recommend you do the same thing.
All right.
Nice. So has anyone been to any breweries lately? Anything new to note that you've tried, or any interesting beers?
I have actually. I went back to Jack's Abbey here in Framingham, which is 10 minutes away from where I live. And Mike, I know when you came to visit in the spring, we went to that brewery and we were like, we'll just do a tasting. We're not going to bother with a tour. Like, been on tours before, big deal. So this time I went on the tour, and it was a good one. It was a good one. So I'm kicking myself for not going on it when you were here. Because, they had some. They did the usual, here's the giant steel things that we brew the beer in, and this is where the water comes in, and this is where kind of guide you through the whole process. But what was neat about it is they the second part was kind of showing you where they had just purchased like a new bottler, and they were talking about, you know, the different bottlers, and, you know, the best ones come from Germany, the second best ones come from Italy, and, you know, this one that they got was from Italy, but it was better than the one that they had, which was built in the U.S. So they've upgraded to the Italian bottler. So they were going through that, and the end of it, they take you to where all their barrels are, where they're aging all their barrel aged beers, and there was a ton of them. There's a big room, and the barrels are stacked floor to ceiling. And this is not a big brewery. I mean, it's relatively small, but you know, they've got a ton of the barrels, and each one is labeled with what's going on in each barrel, and it was pretty neat because they took you right through it, and they went through the process of, you know, how they make their beers, and then also, you know, what the barrel aging process is like, and how long, you know, some beers are in, and other beers, you know, some are short, some are long, and it depends on what was in those barrels before and what the type of beer is and all that. So it was pretty neat. It was a good tour. It was a good time. So
how long was the tour?
Close to a half hour probably. So it wasn't too long, but long enough where it was some pretty good info. They didn't let you in, but they have a lab, and, you know, they show you where the lab is, and they tell you, you know, these two, you know, we have people come in, and, you know, some chemists come in, and they run tests on our beer and make sure everything's up to snuff and whatever. And I asked them, I'm like, so who are these chemists? Like, you know, where do you find these people? And they're like, they work for biotech companies in Boston. They're like, we have them come in like a couple times a week for just a couple hours. They're part-time essentially, but they work for she's like, one of them works for Genzyme, and she's like, the other one I think works for, you know, one of the other companies or whatever, Sanofi or something. I was like, that's fantastic. I'm like, that's definitely what I would do if I was a chemist.
I know. Does it sound like these guys come in and work for beer?
Yeah, I got that impression. Like,
That's awesome.
I'm like, okay, they're part-time, but, like, I'm sure that they're probably just getting paid in beer. Like,
like totally.
That's cool. Yeah,
the girl who was giving the tour was like, she's like, yeah, they run tests to make sure everything's up to snuff in there. She's like, but also they're kind of off on their own doing their own experiment. She's like, I don't actually know what they're doing in there.
That's awesome, man. I love that place, and I would love to go on that tour. I was just listening to a new podcast that I discovered from the West Coast, and those guys were talking about Jack's Abbey. So they've made a name for themselves on the East Coast. So they're going to be big. You know, I do you know if they have any plans of expansion, or if they're going to distribute anywhere outside the?
So they've got. I mean, they're pretty small right now, and, you know, their brewing operation isn't very big, but they have a lot of space where they are. I mean, they're in this gigantic warehouse, and they're not using. I don't think they're using, you know, close to half of it. So I think within the building they're in, I think they have got room to expand, and they have been expanding. But, you know, I think they've just. She said something about how they just added like 2 new tanks, and so I think they're just kind of. They've got the space, and I think they're just kind of building as they go. So I think they're aiming to get bigger, but I also think that they're not in a huge rush. I think they're doing well, and they're liking what they do, so they're going to keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way to do it. I think. And, like, that tap room was packed. I mean, people are going there. You know, it's something that everyone's appreciating, and that's good. So that's awesome, man. Like I said, I was just watching something today, and I was like, man, everyone's talking about that place. I was waiting for them to bring up Trillium, but I was happy enough to hear about Jack's Abbey at least.
Yeah, they had a couple different beers, you know, that were a couple of unique beers that were on just for growler fills there at the brewery. They weren't bottling them. One of them was it was called Fire in the Ham. And it was a smoked lager that was made with bacon and ham. And I've had bacon. I've had beers that had bacon in them before, and like, yeah, you kind of get like a little bit of saltiness or something in there that kind of like, oh, all right, that's bacon. This one, you actually tasted bacon. It was like you're drinking this beer. It's a smoked lager. You get the smokiness, but at the same time, you're like, you know, this is bacon. I'm like drinking bacon. Like, it was pretty good. It was a good one.
That's awesome. Have you? I don't know if you guys from Chicago, have you guys had the pastrami on rye from Pipeworks? Because that was the first beer that came to mind while Mike was talking about that one with the.
I haven't had it.
No,
I
the
saw it last week, but I haven't had it yet.
No, I had the Voodoo Donut, the dreaded, what was it, the maple bacon donut beer. That's as close as I've gotten to that style, and I have to say that one turned me off the style.
Nobody. I don't think I've met a single person that liked that beer. So.
I actually had a bacon maple donut the other day, and I didn't like that. So I'm guessing I probably wouldn't like the beer either.
Well, the thing about the maple bacon donut beer was that it tasted like drinking a campfire. That's all. I mean, there was no maple, there was no bacon, there was just smoke.
There wasn't much beer either. It was just fire.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it wasn't. No, it didn't burn. It was just there was the smoke component that was so overwhelming.
Yeah.
There's actually like a liquid smoke product that you can put into barbecue if you're doing like a barbecue in a crock pot. It tasted like basically the beer was carbonated liquid smoke. It was
That's overwhelming.
That sounds gross. Why would you put that in your food? It's like.
Well, no, liquid smoke actually works okay in
moderation.
Yeah, exactly. A couple of drops is fine.
Goes a long way.
Yes. Yes.
Well, yeah, I was looking at a bunch of the releases. Like I said, let's see. I think I saw what's the one? Firestone Walker announced their lineup as well. So I don't know if you guys ever follow any of your favorite breweries. So a lot of them are starting to kind of let out some of their release schedules, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
And Kevin, before you jumped in, I posted a link to the chat. I don't know if it's still there or if I should repost it. The Greenbush Brewing Company out of Michigan is doing something interesting that I never heard of until they. Here, I'll repost it. Until
the Advent calendar beer.
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah, they did that last year. It sold out so quick though. I've seen this pop up in like my Facebook feed or something because that's an awesome idea.
It is such an awesome idea. So for the people who are possibly watching this after the recording's over, because I don't think we have anybody watching live. No viewers today. Usually we have a couple, but let's see. This is a $125 purchase for a case of 24 Greenbush specialty rare beers, and there's like a Christmas Day beer in there as well. So on Sunday, November 9th at 6 p.m. they have like I don't know. I guess they started selling on their website, and you have to go there and pick it up.
Yeah, pick it up right around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so it says first introduced last year, the Greenbush Advent Calendars of beer is back for 2014. This year's Advent Calendar cases will feature 24 specialty, seasonal, and rare Greenbush beers, plus a very special new beer served up in a velvet pouch for Christmas Day.
Oh.
Pickups will begin sometime the week of Thanksgiving. We'll email you with all the details, blah, blah, blah. So,
how much is it?
$125.
No.
The only thing that's cool about that, though, is that Christmas ales age very well. So I don't know what else is in the box, and I don't know if they're all like kind of spicy, Christmassy type of beers, but I think that Christmas one in the pouch would probably be staying in my cellar if I had that, for any reason whatsoever. So, but speaking of the cellar, we kind of had a really good beer tasting last weekend. We took
we did.
Beers out of the cellar. So I don't know if anyone watching follows or is on our the feed on Google Plus, but I posted a bunch of pictures of what we had. And I think I sent you some of the pictures yesterday, Mike, or the day before. But we opened up a couple pipework abductions with the orange truffle abduction, to be specific. And we had one from last year, and we had this year's to compare. Kevin or Dan, you want to talk about your thoughts on that, or what did you guys think of the difference between those two?
Well, I had never had one before. I'd never had any of the abduction. In fact, yeah, I know that was especially I know
That's surprising too.
quite a bit, but boy, they were good. The most interesting part was having the what was it, a 2014, a new one, and one from last year. Because the difference was it was like two different beers. They
Oh,
were
absolutely.
Yeah.
completely different. They had a different smell. They had a different taste. Not different flavors, but different different flavors came forward in one versus the other. Because if I remember correctly, the older one was it was more mellow, but it also had more of the orange flavor come through, and more of the chocolate come through. Whereas
Yes.
is that am I you remembering it the same way? Whereas the newer the newer one was boozier and a little bit harsher, but not in a bad way. Like some fresher, like if you have a new imperial stout, sometimes it's harsher. This one was just the alcohol sting was there, and it kind of it mellowed out some of the orange and chocolate in there, and kind of pushed it to the background. It was I enjoyed that. I like I like being able to compare those two that because it ages so noticeably.
Yeah, no, I think that's the genius of the verticals, because I think the biggest difference that I saw was that there was almost a bubblegummy flavor that was coming through on the initial one, and not in a bad way, but it was
Right.
whatever the orange was an intensity that was such that it pushed it into kind of a bubblegum flavor, whereas it was more of an orange peel once you got a year out. And like you were saying, that it kind of smoothed out the rough edges, and not because the rough edges were bad. It's just because it's sort of like a more brash beer. It's a more intense, sort of vigorous beer. And then you give it a year, and it kind of pulls back on certain things and reveals layers beneath.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really, I think, what was the coolest part about it, is because you really do see what age does as far as kind of taking away a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, and then getting down to the components underneath. Yeah, I thought it was a great. That was actually my favorite pairing, because it was, they were the same beer but different, and you got to figure out exactly how it got from point A to point B.
Yeah.
What a great
I thought
thing
that
to
might have been a good one to pull out, because I didn't want that one to stay in the cellar for too long, because then eventually you're going to lose a lot of those flavors that we would have caught when we had it. And I agree with everything that you guys said, but I also felt like there was actually more of the chocolate flavor, a little bit more than the orange. But I've had like orange chocolate flavored candies and stuff like that, and those are always a good match. So I thought that was a really good beer for the 2013 as well. I thought it was a little more boozier for the fresh 14. And I think a year of age does that beer just perfectly, and I think that's the way it should. I plan on purchasing it and saving some more for next year like that.
Yeah.
So that was fun. I mean, you guys brought a couple beers yourselves. Kevin, you had something from Solemn Oath. Which one was that again? I love the name on this beer.
Oh, that was the Skinny Jeans are ridiculous. I had that once before. Just a good pale ale. Nothing unique about it, and after just talking about the orange truffle and chocolate abduction, this was just this is one of their pale ales from Solemn Oath, and it was a good one. We stopped there on the way, and Aaron and I split a second beer when we were there, and I've been trying to remember ever since I logged on here what it was, but it was a Belgian style red ale. That we had. It was pretty good. It wasn't. I can't say it was one of my favorites from there, but it was. It's always nice to sit there and have the fresh beer right in the brewery.
Nice.
My favorite beer of the night was that 2009 Dark Lord. That's we've. It's funny. It's for such a rare beer. We've actually had so much of it over the last 5 years.
I know, and I still have one more bottle.
I feel like I'm not. It's not unfamiliar. It's a special thing to bring out, but it's kind of nice that we, between you and me and probably a handful of other people, we end up cracking one open twice a year or so, especially now that we've built up. I know I have 9 or 10 down here, and I'm sure you've got a similar amount. It's kind of nice because they're so good and so rare, but we've kind of developed okay, no, I know what this is. I know what I'm drinking, and I compare it to my memory of some other ones. And that was my favorite that we have opened between, I don't know whether it was the year or the age or what, but that was my favorite. We've had the 09 before, but on Saturday that was the best one. I like that a lot.
That was an awesome.
It ages very well. Because when you have it fresh, it's very sweet and very syrupy and very just like really syrupy and thick. It's not a beer you want to just crack open and start having. And a lot of people that go there, basically pop their bottles open, and there's a lot of bad reviews online for that beer, and it's because of the hype, obviously. But there's a lot of people that just want to hate because they can be anonymous on the internet. But but for the most part, I think it's a lot that has to do with just a lot of inexperienced beer people who just go there to try to buy a bunch of it and try to sell it online or whatever, or get good trades. But it's a really good beer to invest in for your cellar if you're in the market, or if you're in the in the Midwest when those beers come out. So.
On exactly April 22nd or whatever.
Yeah, right around my birthday. I kind of love it every single time.
But I think part of it too is that I think that beer is just designed so that the first year you get it, it's not going to be good. So I mean, inexperience kind of plays into it. But I mean, the beer literally that year is not when you want to drink it. It's not going to be at its best. It's not going to really be tasty. So I mean, you do have to kind of look past that, and I think you can't really do that until you cracked open a year-old or a 2-year-old Dark Lord and give it a difference.
Yeah. Whoa, what is this, Kevin?
I just copied and pasted. It's last year's. That's not this year's Green Bush Advent calendar.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. That's so cool.
I can't find any, I was hoping to find a list that I could link to that would just describe what all these are, but I as soon as you were talking about it, I thought I'd try to look that up.
Nice. No, that's awesome. On top of the beers that we had, we also made a bunch of dishes with beer incorporated in it. So we had the.
I had your. What was the chili? Was that the one with the Peace Island?
That was the little something wild turkey chili.
I had that for I brought the leftovers to work on Monday for lunch, and that was nice. That was a good bowl of chili.
Glad to hear it.
How were the Edmund Fitzgerald brownies? Mike sent me a picture of those, and
oh yeah,
oh those are good. I
finished those today.
Those are tasty.
Yeah, we had that. We had the Rambler IPA Italian turkey sausage fondue. So that was
really good.
That was really good, and the flatbread too.
Yeah, the Daisy Cutter flatbread.
What was in the pork?
That was Daisy Cutter as well.
We
also made that with the smoky barbecue sauce from Lily's Q here in Chicago.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
did you? You know what I didn't get to try? Your fridge there was quite stocked. There was a few I didn't even. It was more than a few that I didn't get to try. I've never had the what was? Is it Founders? There was a barrel-aged bastard, some sort of bastard.
Backwoods bastard.
Backwoods bastard. Have you had that? Had you had that before?
Yeah. I had one yesterday after work.
Okay.
I really wanted it.
Is that their Scotch ale? And is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah, it's a barrel-aged Scotch ale.
Yeah.
So what is it? The Dirty Bastard is their Scotch ale?
Dirty Bastard.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the
It's a
barrel
bourbon
aged.
barrel-aged version of the Dirty Bastard.
Yeah.
It's not Dirty Bastard, isn't it? It's the Backwoods Bastard.
Well, it's called the Backwoods Bastard, but I
Right.
think it's their Dirty Bastard in a bourbon barrel. It's
Oh, okay.
barrel
Okay.
aged.
Right.
So it's I still have one more of those in the fridge, and I put 2 of those in the cellar when I bought the 4-pack for the.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so I'll see how that goes. But yeah, it was an awesome time. I appreciate you guys coming by. It was awesome to share all those beers because I have all of these, and you don't want them to go too long before you get to pop
Right.
them over and I'm sharing with friends. So.
Yeah.
Good time.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah, and thanks for having us. That was a great time.
Yeah, of course. So we've got the wheel pretty well stocked here. I don't know if we want to make too many changes or if there's anything you guys have thought of to add on since. But I'm going to take off the IPA with Cascade that we just did.
I don't know. We got a lot of
some
good
these.
ones.
We do. I mean, we added some good ones last week.
Let's land on some of the ones we already put.
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, I'll apply the changes here. I'll give it a spin. Is it working? Yeah.
Yes.
There we go. All right, and it's landing on.
Can't tell.
I can't either.
With an S.
Smoked.
No,
Smoked.
smoked.
Oh, no kidding. After all that talk of the pastrami on rye.
Yeah, that's right. Nice. That'll be fun. Cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining. Anyone who's watching, appreciate you checking out our channel. Please subscribe and like any of our videos. Comment on anything. Make suggestions on what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see us do, what kind of beers you guys might like to see us have. Definitely would love some ideas for the wheel. So we're open to that as well. So please rate and comment. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also we publish all these shows on podcastcondition.com as always. So again, thanks for watching, everybody. Grab a beer and drink up for the rest of the evening. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Take care.
You too.